Welcome everybody once again to the Yard with Marcus Preciado. I got my good buddy Jefferson Drexler there. How you doing today, Jefferson?
I am doing really good, Marcus. Thanks for having me this week. I am super excited about what we're going to be talking about today.
It's going to be another great show, man. Glad you're coming along for the ride. Just want to say thank you once again to the Christian Podcast Central. We're live from the studios right now, so thanks so much for being our partners in the Yard. Well, let's get right into it. The first five, where we like to talk about the first five things that jumped out at me over the weekend. Now, this is not in order of importance. This is in order of magnitude, or it's just as I take on the weekend, I like to reflect and go, what are the things that jumped out at me? So here's a couple of things. The first one, here's what jumps out at me, that Carolina Panthers are better without Cam Newton as a quarterback. And this is why I say this. You know, a couple weeks ago on our podcast, I had a little fun with Cam's outfits and talked about how his outfits are distracting to the team. And when he comes into the locker room, they see him in the outfits he's wearing. And eventually, they don't trust him as a leader because you don't trust your leader that wears those crazy outfits.
Any guy who's putting that much thought into his outfit can't be thinking full-time about the game, right?
Yeah. And the thought was at some point in the game, the receiver is going to try to catch the ball and remember the outfit Cam wore and get confused or giggle or just, get distracted.
Right.
And so this week, although they were being silly with that, I don't think Cam is the answer for the Panthers long term. Now, it's weird because he has every metric you could want as a quarterback. I mean, he is amazingly big, athletic, strong, and from what we hear from the players, that they believe in him as far as he plays hurt, and he gives everything he has. But I just don't think he has what it takes to be the franchise quarterback for that team. What are your thoughts on that?
That it factor. Yeah, I mean, if really what they need or to win is the guy who can take the snap and then run for anywhere from 6 to 20 yards. I mean, they've got that in Christian, right?
Yeah.
So now
who had an amazing game,
next level leader, right?
And the quarterback's job is really he's like a point guard back there. Mm-hmm. Get the ball into the hands of the playmakers in space. And Cam being out this week, Kyle Allen stepped in, and they had a 38-20 victory over the Cardinals, which is a big win for them. And now they're saying they're reevaluating Cam for this week. I don't think he's going to play. And if he doesn't play again and Kyle steps up and they win again, I think we've got a quarterback controversy on our hands. That's number one.
Don't lie.
Number two, kind of along the same thoughts, Jefferson, the Giants are definitely better without Eli Manning. Daniel Jones stepped in this week and led them on a comeback, a 32-31 victory on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it's interesting to think that he was booed when he got drafted.
Well, yeah, he's a Duke quarterback.
Quarterback.
I mean, I can say that I stood firmly with the New York Giants fans during the draft, and I'm like, you're better off drafting Zion Williamson than this guy.
Yeah, well, apparently those scouts knew what they were doing. This guy played great under pressure. We know that Eli has been not playing well for the last several years, and it's sad because he's a great guy. The Mannings are a great family. I had a chance to connect with Eli when I got to be part of a pregame chapel when the Giants were in town playing back in the day when we had the San Diego Chargers. Before the LA Chargers, and got to meet him and chat with him. Very respectful, funny guy, great guy. But you know what? It's the right move. It's time for them to move forward. And Daniel Jones, man, we even had people like Baker Mayfield doubting him. Not so much doubting him, but really questioning where he was drafted. And I think he's going to prove all of them wrong, and he's off to a great start.
So my question for you, Marcus, is did the Giants handle it correctly? I mean, if you're drafting a quarterback in the first round as they did, should they have even started the season with Eli as their captain and their starting QB1?
Well, some of it, they want to make sure Eli goes out respectfully. And so I think they kind of gave him enough noose to hang himself. But Daniel is going to be under large scrutiny. Playing in New York City. Well, they don't actually play in New York, but, being the New York Giants, I mean, everything's going to be scrutinized, and he's got a tough deal. But
that's what I mean is first of all, they kind of, as you said, they gave Eli some rope, but I mean, Eli can only do so much with the line, or much less the defensive secondary that they have. I mean, I feel bad for Eli. But then now they're putting in the rookie, and so let's say he stumbles and falls. I mean, we're here going into week 4. If come week 6, week 7, he's stumbling and he has a couple, just like
but if he's stumbling, they're okay with that because he's a rookie. And you said something I found funny, that you said you feel sorry for Eli. Let me tell you something. Don't feel sorry for that brother right there. I mean, he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. He is going to go to the Hall of Fame. Not only that, he is the highest paid player in the history of the NFL. He's made more money than any quarterback. So don't feel bad for Eli Manning. He's fine. I guarantee you, maybe he's a little sad. Give him a hug if you see him, but don't feel bad for Eli. So here's the next one. Number 3, UCF losing to Pitt. I have to call myself out because on last week's podcast, I made a bold prediction that UCF was potentially going to be a team for the playoffs. I was really wrong. They beat Stanford the week before, and Pitt beat them. So they faced 2 weeks of some big schools, and they can't play with the big guys. And you know what? For so long, they've been saying how they can, and they just showed their true colors, and they're out of the race for the national championship as far as I'm concerned.
And that's the trick with Central Florida is they would literally have to run the table. They'd have to go the entire season undefeated and win big. We're not talking like squeaking by a field goal. They'd have to win by 10 points or more in nearly every game, right? In order to be considered that Final Four?
Theoretically, Jefferson, but it's not going to happen. And, that loss to Pitt, in the voters' minds just confirmed what everybody thinks, essentially, outside of UCF, is that you're doing great against the smaller schools, but when you place the big boys, you're just not going to cut it. And number 4 is San Jose State's win over Arkansas. That was really cool. You do not see Mountain West teams go into an SEC team on the road and beat them. You just don't see that. So that was a huge, huge victory for San Jose State. And there was a cool little story that came out of it. Their running backs coach, his name is Alonzo Carter. He broke down in tears after the game because he was thinking of 2 family members he lost recently, Jefferson. He lost his mom and his younger brother. And he really wanted them to be part of that first victory. So he broke down in tears afterwards. And good on you, Coach. Good on you, San Jose State. And I think their secret weapon was Coach Carter, because San Jose State pulled some great moves in that win, if you saw it. And little known fact that Coach Carter was a backup dancer on MC Hammer's dancing team.
What?
Yep. There you go. Right there. That's the stuff you get when you listen to the Yard. Right? We're not going to talk stats. We're not going to talk that stuff too much, but you're not going to hear about San Jose State's Coach Carter being a backup dancer to MC Hammer. So that was a little secret thing that they had in their pocket. And number 5, here we go. Number 5, give me a minute to develop this. But it's an issue, I believe, of life imitating art. All right? You ever heard that term, Jefferson?
Absolutely.
All right. So here's a perfect example. Gardner Minshew, who's the rookie quarterback for the Jaguars, right, who had a great victory. He went to USC. He transferred to Washington State, was the Washington State's Offensive Player of the Year. He's a rookie this year. This is what I think of him. Now, we got on mustaches a couple weeks ago as well. And as opposed to the mustache that is going around that's very well groomed and the showy mustache, like I want you to look at my mustache that's going on with some quarterbacks right now, like the one from Green Bay, not mentioning any names. Actually, I'll get to that in a second. He's had his mustache for a while, okay? He didn't come on the scene to the NFL and decide, I want to make a statement with my mustache, and I'm going to grow it. I've done some research on him and his mustache. He's had it for a while, okay? First of all, he's born from Mississippi.
Yep.
All right? He went to school in ECU. Right? He's not a pretty boy, right? That mustache is part of who he is. It's not the Hollywood coming out in him. So here, follow me on this. life imitating art. I believe that Gardner Minshew is actually, you ready for this? He is the reincarnation and the fulfillment of Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. So follow me. Uncle Rico, right, was a great high school quarterback, right? For all we know, right? He said he could throw footballs over the mountains, and he wanted to make a comeback. And I want you to listen to this quote. Listen carefully, guys. Listen to this quote directly from Uncle Rico. Take it away, Uncle Rico.
Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we'd have been state champions, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Listen to it again, guys. Here it is. Directly from Uncle Rico. Listen.
Coach would have put me in fourth quarter, we'd have been state champions, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Uncle Rico said this: if Coach would have put me in the fourth quarter, we would have been state champions. No doubt in my mind. I think that statement spoke it into existence, and that actually Gardner Minshew, if you Google their photos and their mustaches, they're the same people. And I believe that's who he is. He's actually Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. So keep an eye out for that as that story develops. What are your thoughts on that? Is that too crazy?
No, I can see where you're coming from. And I actually did my own little bit of research on Minshew. And his full name, I don't know if you knew this, Marcus. His full name is Gardner Flint Minshew II.
Yes,
That's
yes.
quite a regal name for somebody out of Mississippi,
Yes.
right? And apparently, and his dad goes by Flint, right? So good old Flint Minshew the first, he intentionally did not name his son Junior because in their circle, anybody named Junior is eventually going to go by Bubba. So
Yeah,
people
Bubba.
are just going to call him, hey, Bubba.
You're from Mississippi and you're Junior.
You're a Bubba.
You're Bubba.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he said, my son is not going to be no Bubba, so he's going to be the second. But however, if you look at Minshew, especially with that mustache, with that headband, and the stories upon stories of him doing workouts, sans clothing, dude is more of a Bubba than I think anybody since Brett Favre. I don't think anybody's walked up.
Yeah, he's definitely a Bubba. I like that story, man. He's the team loves him, and back to his mustache. That mustache is for real. That mustache is a sincere. Like I talked about, Tom Selleck's mustache, Burt Reynolds' mustache. Those are sincere. Those are real. Those are believable, right? But the mustaches going around nowadays, they're not believable. That's why Minshew is winning, and his teams, that mustache is going to lead them to a championship eventually. On the strength only of the mustache. As a matter of fact, his mustache, I believe, has its own Twitter account. So follow it. It's awesome. It's awesome. But that brings us now into our new joy and pain section. But before that, I want you guys to hold on and be prepared for after our joy and pain section. We're going to have our good friend Darren Carrington, former NFL standout, Super Bowl player, join us here on the yard. But let's tap into right now our joy and pain section of the show.
Here we go, joy. Come on, here we go.
Oh, yeah, you feel that?
Pump it up. Sunshine, yeah, and rain.
There we go. Joy and pain. This is we're going to talk real quickly about some things that brought us joy and something that brought us pain over the weekend. Here goes my joy. Tulane's victory over Houston. Kind of like a benign victory, no big deal. But what I like in it is the receiver that made the touchdown winning catch. His name is Jalen McCleskey. He's a transfer from Oklahoma State. So he transferred from one of the big boys and went to Tulane, one of the small boys. But because he wanted to spend time with his father, J.J. McCleskey, is their DB coach there at Tulane. And it was so cool to hear that story of this guy in college playing in a big, big stage. He said, you know what, I want this chance to connect with my dad, and went to Tulane, and, they had a great victory on the road there. That was my joy time. My pain was this, Jefferson. I did the chapel for the San Diego State Aztecs this weekend.
Yeah. How did that go?
Yeah, well, it was a great honor. Really, I loved it. We talked about it. Here's the problem. They were 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after the chapel I gave them, they're now 3-1.
You're the jinx.
Seriously, and I came out
street
like,
buster.
you know what? They may, after that chapel I gave them, I thought they may go undefeated. Because it was a national championship level devotional I gave them. I mean, I'll tell you what, they were focused, they were engaged, they gave me a standing ovation afterwards. Every one guy to the men thanked me afterwards. I wore my brand new Jordans. They loved my Jordans. They loved the devotion. The Lord was moving. I said, you know what? These guys, they may win the national championship after that chapel. But much to my chagrin, they went out and they laid an egg, and I feel personally responsible for it. So that's my pain.
Wow. Well, I've got a couple joy and pain myself.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We got to give a little, come on, man. You're feeling it, right? Sunshine
Rob.
and rain. All right, what you got?
So, pain. We'll start with my pain. Now, Marcus, I have an 11-year-old son at home who is playing his first season of football. He's playing Friday Night Lights, flag football, right? 6th grade, and he is loving it. Now, his team is 0-5 as of right now. They're not just losing. They're losing by scores of 48-0, 52-6. They're losing badly, but this little guy loves the game. But that is not my pain, because I love that he still loves the sport. My pain came Saturday when my buddy and I, my son and I were watching Morgan State versus Army. Did you see that game at all?
I didn't, but Army put up a lot of points. I know that.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. And in the middle of the third quarter, Morgan State's driving. They got the ball, and their running back, Demarius Goodwin, crosses the line of scrimmage, plows in. It takes 2 Army defenders to knock him out, almost literally. And it was helmet-to-helmet contact times 3 helmets. It was scary. First of all, Cam Jones from Army's, their safety, he's knocked out cold. And then as they cut away, Demarius, he gets up and stumbles away a little bit. But when they cut back down, the roles reversed, and Cam's stumbling off to the locker room. He was completely knocked out cold on the ground. And last time that we saw Demarius Goodwin, he was on a stretcher being carted off in an ambulance off the turf, with not just going to concussion protocol, but we are talking real serious potential damage here. And even more than that, my wife came around, took one look at the TV and said, and that is why that boy will never play tackle football.
Yeah,
And my son
that's
and
a
I
wrap
just
right there, brother.
We hung our heads.
Yeah, I got 2 words for you. Spike ball.
Which is a whole lot better than cornhole, which is what my wife suggested.
Listen, the cornhole's crazy because, first of all, there's cornhole championships on ESPN. Have you ever seen that?
Absolutely.
And here's the sad thing. I was with my kids who don't really watch sports. They play sports. They don't watch it much. But the cornhole championships comes on and we're watching it. And then I start mocking them. I start telling them, this is embarrassing that ESPN is showing the cornhole championship and telling them who in the world is going to watch the cornhole championship. As they began to change the channel, I told them, no, hold up. Please leave it here. And we watched about 2 hours of cornhole. And I don't know what's sadder, the fact that there's professional cornhole or the fact that I watch it.
I get it because you are not the only viewer of the cornhole championships. Me and my family are watching.
You watch cornhole?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. What a loser.
And I'm saying,
what kind of losers watch cornhole on TV?
and I'm wondering, okay, but not only do they have cornhole, they also have collegiate level and professional level spike ball.
Man.
Full with sponsors. And I'm looking at this going, if Monster Drink can sponsor that, why not us, brother?
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing your son in about 10 years on ESPN on the cornhole or spike ball championships, but he can kiss football goodbye after your wife saw that. Hey, speaking of goodbye, give us a minute here. We're going to bring in, I'm sorry, no, went too fast. That was your pain. What was your joy?
That's right. So my joy, and you're going to like this one. It breaks my heart, but Raider linebacker Tahir Whitehead, he went viral this weekend with a photo that was on Instagram with him and his wife Shannon. Real quickly, they gather every before every single game at the sideline, and they pray together. They don't only pray for, that Tahir would have a great game and that he would remain safe, but they, according to their reports, they pray for the other team. They pray for the officials. They just lay it all out there. And this is every single game. They set aside time for the two of them to go to the sideline and have a special moment of prayer together. And the fact that this can happen in Raider Nation proves that there is no limits to where God can work.
Yeah, that shows you how big and graceful God is when Raiders are praying. Because I thought all Raiders were going to hell when I grew up as a Charger fan.
That's the way that I was raised.
So that God is good when they're on last days. That proves we're in the last. I think that was in Revelation somewhere that the Raiders would be praying, coming in on dragons and white horse.
Woe to the church.
It's funny you mentioned that, Jefferson, because I have a theory. I have a sports theory and about sports and faith in Jesus. Okay, that the level of difficulty and closeness of death your sport is directly proportional to the believers and Christians within that sport who pray. For example, I'll give you some good examples. When I saw the Cornhole Championships, right?
Okay, yeah.
Not one of those guys were praying. Not one of them, right? Matter of fact, most of them were drinking, if not drunk. All right.
You don't see a lot of prayer warriors at the bowling alley.
No, not at all. Not at all. Now, juxtapose that to football.
Amen.
Football, not only is football filled with guys that love the Lord on a serious tip, so many of those guys really have great testimonies and love God. But as they say, if it bleeds, it bleeds. If it bleeds, it leads. So they don't show them after every game, Jefferson. And we've talked about this. After every NFL game, at the end of it, teammates from both opposing sides and coaches gather in the middle of the field in unity and pray. We see black people, we see white people, we see coaches, we see people from the other teams, we see Latino. I'm sorry, this is the NFL. We don't see any Latinos. Strike that from the record. Right? But we see these people who have battled come together and they pray. And once in a while, you'll see the camera get a glimpse of it. And they will move that camera as fast as they can to not cover these guys praying together. So football, a lot of guys love the Lord and a lot of guys pray. And it's really cool. And that's one of the reasons I love the show, because we can bring those stories out, right? Here's that theory too. UFC. Mm-hmm. You will see them get on their knees right before and after the match and thank the Lord and give their testimony. This is why, because they might die.
Quite literally.
So the closer you are to death in your sport, the more people are active in their faith. Speaking of being active in their faith, we have Darren Carrington joining us here in a couple minutes. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Yard, everybody, where faith collides with sports. As we shared earlier, we've got a good friend of mine, Coach Scott Abell, the head coach from Davidson, on the line with us today. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, Marcus, thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be on.
Hey, Coach, well, let's get right into some football talk, some college football. Early on in this season, there's some great storylines, some great games going on. This was a great weekend for college football, and I know you guys are off to a strong start. You got a little hiccup this weekend, but in general, you're off to a very strong start this year. And I know last year you started making waves with your offense, and kind of bring us up to speed about Davidson football and the PFL and things of that nature for our listeners who aren't quite familiar with your brand of football.
Yeah, sure. We have gotten off to a strong start. We're 3-1. We just wrapped up our out of conference schedule, and we're excited to be 3-1. We just missed on the opportunity to be 4-0. We got beat by a 50-yard field goal with no time on the clock versus Campbell University last weekend. So, that's certainly disappointing, but that's just kind of how it happens in sports sometimes, as you know. So, But for us, we're still really new into this world of Davidson football. I was hired about 18 months ago, and Davidson football has struggled for years, and very fortunate and very humbled that they thought I was the right guy to kind of resurrect the program. And it's really been a whirlwind. It's been exciting. We're 9-6 in our first 15 games there, which I think probably surprised a lot of people in a good way. And and we're just trying to be better each day, trying to be better today than we were yesterday. And our guys have bought into that, and they certainly have, since the day we arrived, have run with the things that we think are important in our program, the foundation of serving one another, and just really blessed to be a part of this turnaround that we have going on here at Davidson.
Well, Coach, I know that, like most people, I first found out about Davidson, many years ago watching March Madness. But it's really cool that, Steph Curry might have put you guys on the map, but I know Davidson football is turning heads and getting people's attention, and I think Davidson's being known now for a football school as well. Are you finding that to happen as well?
Well, we are, and it's exciting. That certainly is what you hope when all this started, 18 months ago, that we would begin to make a name for ourselves inside the football program. And we're starting to see that. And that's showing up in our recruiting. We as of today, we're sitting here with 17 committed kids going into our next year's class, which is unbelievable. And we're recruiting nationally. We have 4 kids committed from California right now. For next year, we have a kid from Utah. And, that doesn't happen without some national exposure. Yeah. And so, we're excited about that. And, we play in this unique league, the Pioneer League. And, out there in the West Coast, you guys are familiar with San Diego, who's in our league. But, we're a non-scholarship Division I football league. And so that's very unique. And there's 2 non-scholarship leagues in the country at Division I, and ourselves in the Ivy League. And, the Ivies don't compete on a national scale past the regular season. They don't go to postseason. So we're really the only non-scholarship league competing in the postseason Division I tournament. So, that's exciting. I'm excited to be a part of it, and I think it's a great league.
Well, that's interesting, Coach, because I know you guys are D1, and like you said, there's some nuances with your league where it's non-scholarship. Yet you guys, when you play full scholarship teams, you compete just as well, if not beat them. How do you compete, and how do you stay competitive competing against full scholarship schools with a team that's non-scholarship? What's the secret? Because that seems kind of counterintuitive to be able to put together a team that can do that.
Well, you certainly have some challenges. I think the first thing is you got to have a plan, right? And you got to have some core values, some core things in your program that you have to hang your hat on, and you establish those. Then you recruit around that. You recruit young people that fit that philosophy, that can fit into your program, your plan, and you build around it and you develop. And I think those are things that kind of got lost in big-time college sports, not just football, but, the development of men, the development of athletes. And, my travel here to Davidson is very unique. I was the head high school coach for years in Virginia, and then got my opportunity to coach Division III football 10 years ago. Now here I am coaching Division I football. And I think the thing that's really, one of the things that's helped me the most is, along those ways, coaching high school football, coaching Division III, you really got to develop players. You got to develop a program that you can recruit around and build on, maybe not always relying on having that dude to run your systems. And I think that's really helped us as we transition here to Davidson. But, you playing, Campbell is a full scholarship program. They have 64 scholarships. They play in the Big South. And,
wow.
And we were up 29-28 with 6 seconds to go in the game. And to be honest, the game really should have been over. We turned the ball over 4 times to keep them in the game. And so, you put a bunch of young people on the field that believe and that want to do something special together, and really good things can happen. And I think that's how we as non-scholarship programs have to approach it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Coach. That to have a plan and to bring the right people aboard, and share with me for the young listeners we have, dreaming to go play D1 football, to play at the next level, and thinking they have maybe the skill set on paper, but I know what you recruit is far beyond that. Obviously, you're looking for the athlete that's playing D1 college football because that's what you guys are playing. But beyond that, I think you're looking for things extra, maybe that maybe you don't find on the metrics. What is your philosophy when bringing the right people aboard to your team?
Well, for us here at Davidson, the first thing is it starts academically. We're regularly year in and year out listed as one of the top 15, 20 schools in the country.
Wow.
So we're an Ivy League school here in North Carolina, and for us, football wise, athletically, that's who we recruit. So most of the young men that we're recruiting are certainly gathering a lot of interest from schools that are the Ivies, Vanderbilts, Duke out here on the East Coast, Stanford out there. We're recruiting against the most elite academic schools in the country. And so that's where it starts. And then secondly, you want to find those young people that really want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that's not always easy, right? But that's why you recruit. That's why you take the time to get to know your recruits, their families, because if you can surround your program with people that want to be a part of something special, bigger than themselves, then you're going to have a chance to be successful. And, I think those are the really two main ingredients for us. And then you want to find guys that fit your schemes, but you also have to be willing to take a chance on that guy who's maybe not quite tall enough, is what he's being told by maybe some bigger programs, or maybe he's not quite fast enough, but they're really good football players.
Yeah.
And, and I think that, we have two defensive ends that are lighting it up right now for us. We played two full scholarship programs, and we beat one of them, and we lost a heartbreaker to one, and they weigh 215 pounds each. Huh. Now who else is going to play them at defensive end at the Division I level? But they're explosive, they're athletic, and they love football, and that's we're blessed to have them.
And I know part of that process, Coach, as you're evaluating and bringing in the right fit, I know it kind of falls under this umbrella that you've put together, #we win everything, the WE. Where did that philosophy come from, and how do you apply that to not only being a football player, but just being a young man or anybody that's part of the program there at Davidson?
Yeah, so, this is something that has taken a life of its own, especially here, but it's something that we've had with us in our previous programs. It's win everything. And that stands for numerous things. First, the win everything part. And it's not just about winning on the field. It's about winning in the classroom. It's about winning in the community. It's about winning in our churches. That's what we talk about. When our young men go home, we want them to be the best brother to their big brothers or little sisters. We want them to be the best sons to their mom and dads, or the best grandsons. When they go to church, we want them to be the best community leader in their churches, in their communities. And so that's what win everything means. It's not just on the field. And then the second part of that is win everywhere. And we say it's easy to be comfortable and be at your best at home, right? And that's the same as sports. We're all a little better when we're comfortable, around our familiarity. And so, but we have to be better everywhere, and that includes, when we step out on the road to play, that includes when we step in to something uncomfortable in our communities. When we go serve, we want to be our best everywhere, so it's win everywhere. And the last part of that is with everyone. I'm a firm believer in this, and I think this probably really is what attracted me to football years ago as an athlete and now as a coach, is that it's the greatest team sport. It brings people together from all walks of life, from all backgrounds. I mean, you hear it said a lot, and it's true. You can walk into a football locker room anywhere, and you're going to find young people that came from so many different backgrounds coming together for one cause. And where else can you find that? And so our WE stands for win everything, win everywhere, with everyone. And our Davidson community here they've really bought into that, not just in our program, but in our community. We have our tailgaters have their own flags made now that have "we" on them, and so we're excited about that. And we're excited that they understand that this is not just about winning and losing on the scoreboard. It's about winning and losing in everything we touch, whether it's in our community or in our program.
Well, that's great, Coach. And that is I'm not surprised at all. That's very impactful. I know we got to meet each other through the recruitment of my son, and
Yes.
I know he ended up going elsewhere. But my wife and I were really elated about the possibility of my son Diego ending up there. And certainly it's Division I football, so it checked that box, because he wanted to play D1 football. But man, it checked other boxes, Coach, that we didn't know existed. The impact that you and your staff left on just my wife and I was huge, in that hashtag "we" is impactful. I use it in my everyday life too. And I'll tell you what, Coach, I think I have 2 years of eligibility left. So if you can use a 47-year-old Panamanian, 245 pounds, find somewhere from the field. I got a year or two left, Coach. You get some hashtag "we" out of me, buddy.
I like it, Marcus. And listen, hey, Diego, he got his genes from somewhere, right? He got that speed. He got that athletic ability from somewhere, no doubt.
Yeah. Thank God I married an athletic, beautiful wife. I'm no dummy, Coach. I'm not as dumb as I look, thank God. Coach, what about faith? I know you're a man of faith as well.
I am.
And so how do you weave that into your calling as a coach and your belief in God and Jesus Christ? How does that weave into what you do on and off the field?
Well, I think we are all put here for a reason, right? And we can call it a calling, we can call it a purpose, but I think, God and Jesus had a purpose for us. And for me, my love, I had really three loves growing up, right? My family, my faith, and my sports. And so when it came time for me to kind of hang up my hat, put away my cleats and my playing days, it was really simple what I wanted to do. I wanted to be around sports forever. I wanted to impact people. And as I started to do that, I really began to see, how could I influence people with my walk? And I'm not a preacher, and I don't try to be a preacher. I try to live the life that I think Jesus wants us to live, which is honor those around us, serve people, treat everyone as you want to be treated, and you hope at the end of the day that makes an impression on people, and then they ask you that question: hey, why are you always happy? Why are you always upbeat? Where do you get your positivity from? And then I can answer them. I get it from Jesus. I get it from my Savior, and it's a very special thing. I feel blessed to do what I do. That I get to coach young people and hopefully have an impact on their life. And we don't always we don't go into this business saying, okay, we get the opportunity to coach because we want to preach. That wasn't my calling. My calling was to coach young people and hopefully to have an effect on them, so that they wanted hopefully to see something in me that they wanted to know more about. And we offer, we try to help our guys in their walk, in their faith. And when they come to us, we point them in directions of people that can help them more than we can help them. But I'm blessed that we have a staff that is here to support, to serve our young people and to help them. And we have great leaders on our team that serve in those roles. And you as a coach know that you're never going to reach everybody, but you feel like if you can just reach a handful of people, you're successful. And sometimes you don't ever really know though, do you? Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that you just got to rely on Christ and God, that you're being impactful, and that as long as we're in the Word and we're trying to lead in that way, I think at the end of the day we are impactful. And how that looks, when my career's over, I hope it looks in a way that there's a lot of great husbands, there's a lot of great fathers, there's a lot of great community leaders and church leaders that have come through our program, and that's what you hope.
Coach, that philosophy is so amazing and so great. And I got a chance to play Division I college football at San Diego State, and I'll tell you what, the experiences I had as a young man, I was in a spot where my coaches helped out at all with my walk. If anything, it was challenging and it made me, have questions that I never had before. And it was really break me down and emotionally, physically, and just kind of try to reconstruct like a football player. But what you guys are doing is great, Coach. I heard a little clip after your guys' recent loss and how encouraging you were just on the great things that happened, even though you guys lost. And I'll tell you what, your program's going to go a long way, Coach. I remember chatting with my wife during the process, says, you know what, honey, I know that team has not been a perennial powerhouse up to now, but you watch this program because this coach is special, his staff is special, and plus North Carolina has sweet tea, we know, and that's special, Coach, so that helps out recruiting.
That's right.
And,
well, thank you. That's really kind, Marcus. It is. Thank you.
Well, keep up the great work, Coach. Hey, we thank you for your time, and hopefully we can have you on later on in the season as well as you guys are moving towards the playoffs to get an update. Other than that, God bless you, Coach. We appreciate you, love you, man, and we hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Marcus. Appreciate it. Love being on.
All right, you have a great day, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap today, you guys, with The Yard. Once again, a thank you to Christian Podcast Central for partnering with us, man. We're having a great time. Hey, tune in next week as we bring to you more sports, more faith, more Jesus, more fun. God bless you guys.